So we're here again with Farmer Steve with another question from our audience. Hey, Farmer Steve.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So your FutureProof farm, what does it mean to future-proof a farm?
So I wrote a book called The FutureProof Farm, Changing Mindsets in a Changing World. And the reason I wrote that book is to try to help farmers understand how they can grow their crops, produce their crops in a very environmentally friendly manner and make enough profit to be survived into the future. I also wrote this book for the consumer, just so you know how some farmers are now growing their food and all the practices we're using that I think consumers, well, I should say I know consumers really appreciate. And we're using these techniques to grow our food that helps them to be better or more nutrient dense, more nutrients in them. And the book kind of goes into my perspective as I've traveled the world and talked about regenerative agriculture and how that is where the future is going. So for farmers, if they don't follow these protocols, they may become obsolete. For the consumer, you need to know that we're really trying to make healthy food, to grow healthy food that's going to be better for you and your family. And that's really what this is all about.
So today in 2022, what is your outlook of farming?
Well, we've had a lot of uncertainty the last couple of years. We all have, no matter what sector you're in. People have to eat. And from my perspective as a full-time farmer, I'm excited about the future in that context. We have a lot of uncertainties surrounding us now from dynamics that we have very little control over. That applies to us all. But in spite of that, my farm here has been preparing for, or I have been managing to prepare for some of these uncertainties. Number one, we have resilient soil. So no matter what the weather is, my soil is going to be able to provide crops better than a soil that hasn't been treated with soil health principles. And I've been doing this for literally 40 years now. So you can't just, snap your fingers and say, well, I'm going to be a regenerative farmer and you have all these wonderful products. I've been doing this for a long time. So I guess you could kind of say I'm excited about the future because I believe that I will be able to maintain my levels of production and my input costs aren't as dramatically affected as some because I don't need as much. I don't need as much to grow my food because I've stored the nutrients in my fields. And so in that aspect, I really do feel that there's a good outlook for agriculture.
So you mentioned input cost.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I'm not a farmer. Help me understand what that means.
Yeah, input costs are simply the money we have to spend to buy for, like, you could call it fertilizer, diesel fuel, just the realities of our expenses, our costs of goods. And so, in the context of what we're talking about here, I don't need to buy as much fertilizer. My fertilizer rates have been cut to less than half because I've saved those nutrients in the fields and I've grown cover crops and I've kept them in place. Cover crops can help unlock nutrients that may not be available under conventional farming scenarios. And legume type cover crops can actually provide nitrogen, which is necessary to grow. So that's a couple ways where I can reduce my input costs. I'll just mention too, because we do no tillage, we don't need as much diesel fuel. We don't travel across the field 4 times before we plant like conventional farmers would. So that's a tangible savings, particularly now in the context of high fuel prices. So input costs are simply the expenses that I need to pay to be able to run my farm.
Great answer. Thanks, Farmer Steve.
Yep.
We'll see you again.